Lottery and voting tickets were the big talk in the previous episode, one half of the big theme that you and I are exploring. In this episode, let's talk a bit about how fan clubs may be an awesome revenue source for Seiyu, a way to create a loyal fan base, but can, at the same time, create problems for fans themselves. Let's kick off this episode of Seiyu Lounge. Welcome to Seiyu Lounge, I am your host Vanessa, and today's topic is Lottery Tickets and Fan Clubs Part 2. Once again, this episode is here thanks to the suggestions by commenters PM and Denise made on episodes 10 and 4. Seeing how fan clubs have started to proliferate among Seiyu artists, this is a good time to talk to you about the business side of it, as well as its implications on the fan side. What are fan clubs? Fan clubs are essentially a way to organize fans of a certain artist, actor, Seiyu, 2D music project, you name it. These can be official, launched and run by the artist's staff, also extremely organized, or unofficial. Those fan clubs appear organically and are run by fans for fans, and except for very specific cases, are usually unorganized. For male Seiyu artists, or just male Seiyu in general, and 2D music projects, if there are any fan clubs, those will be official and usually connected to either their talent agencies or music labels. A brief talk about the psychology behind fan club culture. Japan is widely known for having passionate music fans. Fan engagement is a phenomenon that is deeply rooted in the sense of being Japanese. As a Japanese person, you want to be part of things collectively, but also extremely competitive within those collectives or groups. The Japanese fan strives to be the biggest fan possible. So you can expect Japanese fans to want to join those fan clubs. They want to feel exclusive and important, and official fan clubs provide them with that satisfaction. That is not as common among fans from other countries, and it will basically differ from person to person whether they have the same competitiveness and passion to join fan clubs. What affects most people in general, and in a way is a big reason why people unconsciously join fan clubs, is FOMO. FOMO, or fear of missing out, is something that deeply influences the choices of people and in some ways leads to some to want to join a fan club to not feel left behind by other fans of the same things they love. Fear of missing out is a term coined in 1996 by the marketing strategist Dr. Dan Herman. It refers to the feeling or perception that others are having more fun or experiencing better things than you. As you can expect, it involves a deep sense of envy of others and affects your self-esteem. Social media sites are at the core of these, as they serve mostly for people to brag and sometimes even fabricate perfect lives, and in case of fan club culture, how much merch they have, receipts of donations to the artist or in the name of the artist, or even event tickets or exclusive memorabilia won in lotteries and the sort. Fear of missing out on what others are doing when you and them have the same stance, both are fans of the artist or project X, is more commonly found among adolescents, although there are cases in other age groups. This can explain why most fan clubs are comprised of mostly teenagers. Why? Fear of missing out is closely connected to the feelings that teenagers have of wanting to belong to something, seeking validation by others, and having a stable anchor in their life. To avoid missing out, teenagers will oftentimes join and be active in fan clubs, seeking that sense of belonging and togetherness. Fan clubs provide that, or at least the creation of fan clubs capitalizes on that fear of missing out. Of course, I'm analyzing this situation from a psychology standpoint, and there may be plenty of cases of people that join a fan club just because of curiosity but the common situation is this one, as discussed both by marketing experts and psychology specialists. The benefits of Seiyu or even 2D music projects having a fan club. In short, more money for Seiyu artists and 2D music projects. But let's talk in a bit more detail so that you can understand what goes behind the decision of launching a fan club for Seiyu artists, or Seiyu in general, and 2D music projects. Like I mentioned before, it's unheard of Seiyu or 2D music projects' fan clubs to be free. So right off the bat, fan clubs are paid, whether it's a yearly or monthly fee. After what happened in 2020 with COVID-19 stopping the entertainment industry in Japan, Seiyu artists and 2D music projects noticed that they can't focus solely on merch sales or live events. They need to have something steady that works without making a big effort, and in case of any issues like in that year, they can keep going on without a hitch. And as such, we can easily come to the first conclusion. Fan clubs are a way to create additional revenue. At the same time, by making those exclusive, paid membership or requiring you to reside in Japan in order to be able to join, the Seiyu and 2D music projects aim at building and nurturing relationships within their community of passionate fans, hoping to turn those into lifelong fans that can support them throughout their career. You heard it well. Fan clubs are not only a way for Seiyu to get more revenue, but also to create an extremely loyal and organized community around them that no matter what will purchase the music they release, attend the shows they hold, or purchase any merchandise they release. When people join a Seiyu fan club, they don't get to interact with the Seiyu at all, something that may happen within fan clubs outside of Japan. There's barely any, I reckon no, interaction with their fans. Members only have exclusive access to content that those that don't join won't have access to. Membership is a business model that works pretty well with services, products, 2D music projects, or even Seiyu and artists that have a big following. And Seiyu artists, or Seiyu in general, and 2D music projects are capitalizing on that popularity to create exclusive fan clubs in which fans feel valued and exclusive. In the meantime, fan clubs offer a lifeline to artists who would otherwise not have any consistent revenue stream or want to have a backup revenue stream in case something goes wrong. For example, last year in March, when the COVID-19 pandemic put the Seiyu, anime and music industries in Japan to a complete halt, some Seiyu found themselves losing a lot of money, some struggled to pay their bills, and others had even to resort to lending money. For Seiyu and 2D music projects, fan clubs are both a way to have a steady stream of money at the same time that a loyal community around them is created and nurtured. The next benefit is market research. This doesn't affect directly the Seiyu or the cast of 2D music projects, but it is deeply important for the marketing teams behind them. Well, let me tell you a couple of secrets that we, digital marketers, have and people that don't work in this field may not be aware of. Marketing teams profile the fan base of the artists, Seiyu or 2D music projects they are supporting. They have access to data from those that visit the artists or 2D music projects' websites. If you have noticed, all websites mention that they use cookies to track your activity on the website. Those cookies are exactly what give that information to the marketing team. It's first and foremost Google Analytics, the powerful tool that can tell how many people visiting a website have searched for things within the topics of, for example, music, hobbies, or celebrities. It tells them how much time you spend on their website. What did you do on the page, from clicking on icons, downloading photos, to browsing the page, and assuming how much time you took to read what is in an article. They know your age group, your gender, and location. Don't worry, they do not know who you are, but let's say they know most of what your internet avatar does. Basically, everything you do using your IP is tracked by Google, and then the relevant information is shared with webmasters and their digital marketing teams. That's valuable information that you can get only from the website navigation if everything is well configured. Music labels will know, for example, that fans of their 2D music project are in their 18 to 24 years old age group. Most are women residing in urban areas in Japan, Philippines, the USA, and Indonesia, and usually visit a list of similar websites. That alone helps the music labels with knowing how much they should bet on overseas promotions, or even if they should think about making their content on social media and website in English, for example. Then you have social media. Social media marketing teams usually have digital marketing staff working with them and will do social listening. This basically means tracking hashtags they create and checking what fans are writing about the artists, seiyuu, or 2D music project. That helps them tailor the content that social media managers and content creators will craft for those profiles, as well as what the project or artist could focus more on should they want to do so. At the same time, just like with Google Analytics, all social media platforms have an option to have a professional account, or even without it, have access to analytics of that specific profile. Once again, you have access to age groups, gender, similar things that those people checking or interacting with your content follow or retweet about, as well as knowing which type of content has got more shares or likes and so on and so forth. But all the data you get from website navigation or social media interactions can't come even close to that fan clubs have access to. Remember what I just told you, that Google Analytics and any other analytics platform or software does not know who you are, right? Well, with fan clubs, that information is fully exposed to the marketing teams. They know who you are, because people can't hide behind fake names or locations like they do on social media, especially if you want to get tickets or participate in giveaways and the sort that require your real address and name. The marketing team not only knows fan behavior on the web and social media, but also where they live, who they are, and if the profiles within fan clubs have places to write favorite things like hobbies, they also know that. They can better tailor live tours for those artists or 2D music projects because they now know their specific locations instead of the generic "they are from country X or Y." That's a good way to know where that artist or 2D music project has fans, and that would be impossible without having access to that personal information. It also helps knowing which type of content works best with their fan club members, serving as a place to try new content before creating it for everyone else. My advice is, if you usually navigate Japanese websites using VPN, try not to do it, unless it is for security reasons. If projects, music labels or seiyuu, and even talent agencies notice in their data that more international people are interacting with their content, their brands or artists, it can help push them to do something about being more welcoming of international fans. Knowing how many fans they have. Fan clubs are exclusive and usually passionate fans join in without even caring for the membership fees. Through fan clubs, seiyuu and their marketing teams nurture relationships with their fans, aiming at making them incredibly loyal to the point that they'll purchase everything, attend everything, and support them no matter what. In return, seiyuu and their marketing teams, regardless if those are part of their music label or talent agency, will know exactly how many fans they have. That helps as well to plan live tours or shows. Organizing a fan base. By launching an official fan club, that seiyuu or 2D music project are making sure a big chunk of their fan base is organized and abides to the rules. This can be a good way to control problematic fans, avoiding them running amok, harassing other people, or creating scandals for the artists themselves due to their poor or rude behavior. Examples of seiyuu with fan clubs include Mamoru Miyano, Shota Oi, Kensho Ono, Daiki Yamashita, Soma Saito, and Yumu Uchida. When it comes to bands, Old Codex and Gran Rodeo also have fan clubs. Why are 2D music projects launching fan clubs? Once again, to make easy money. Merchandise is a good way to make money, but not everyone wants to collect stuff. However, having a status within a fandom is something that most fans love the idea of. Thus, launching fan clubs is actually a clever idea by those 2D music project creators. However, contrary to what seiyuu or artist fan clubs do, 2D music projects are all about selling overpriced merch under the pretense that it is exclusive or limited or is discounted to members. That's actually a trick used by marketers to make quick sales. Scarcity and exclusivity are two main reasons that make people run to buy or join something. They can offer access to pre-sale tickets for events and exclusive behind-the-scenes interviews with the cast or even the creators, but aside from that, and knowing that 2D music projects charge a ton of money for memberships, you basically don't get that much value for your money if you join a fan club of this nature. Fan clubs are still not that common for 2D music projects. Still, you have franchises like Hypnosis Mic and Pythagoras Production that have official fan clubs, some of these with insanely expensive membership fees. Are fan clubs launched thinking about international fans? No. Generally, fan clubs for seiyuu artists are focused on giving a steady source of income for the seiyuu artist, while at the same time music labels have access to more accurate numbers of fans of that specific seiyuu artist. Given how seiyuu artists, aside from Mamoru Miyano, have never held overseas live tours, fan clubs are locked to Japanese people only. It is worth pointing out that the Japanese music industry in general, and even the seiyuu industry, are still too closed, focusing heavily on the domestic market instead of expanding overseas or welcoming overseas fans. This is something that, for example, in comparison to South Korea, that took its music industry to the global stage, even if there is a massive language gap to all the Western countries, and now is a reference Japan continues to miss out on. There's also a massive language gap between Japanese and the most spoken languages internationally: English, Spanish, Portuguese, and Russian. But if the South Korean music industry made it without initially performing in English, it really is a matter of putting the effort by the Japanese music industry to thrive and achieve success overseas. However, the artists or 2D music projects prefer to continue catering to their domestic market, in which sometimes they don't have as many fans as its international counterpart. For example, Anthos and Lolodi have a big and passionate international fan base. In Japan, both groups barely have any fans, with CDs by both groups not even ranking within Oricon's top 50 and selling below 700 copies. What did Hairride Records do while facing that data? They shifted their marketing focus to international fans and started creating content in English to cater to those fans. As a result, both groups have an international fan base that is passionate about them, streams their music excitedly, and interacts with their content. The music label didn't forget about their domestic fans, they just let international fans in through the door, and as a result, the project thrives. What do other 2D music projects that only focus on the domestic market do when they see their sales plummeting? They go under the radar, and then, when no one remembers them, they disappear. Look at Gang Rock or Fly Me Project, just to name a few. So to sum this up, fan clubs or even social media profiles for seiyuu artists and 2D music projects that fans follow are aimed for their core market, Japan. That's why you'll seldom see content being simultaneously posted in Japanese and English, or even any kind of fan-related activities that are inclusive of international fans. And there are even measures to ensure international fans do not join certain official fan clubs. Either the fan club is mobile only, available in Japanese only, or it doesn't accept international ways to pay for the subscription if there is any. There are some fan clubs like Miano's Laugh and Peace that welcome international fans. In this case, the fan club welcomes international fans because both Mamoru Miano and King Records have shifted their focus from the domestic to the international market, something that was also noticeable for a period of time in the music Miano released. But this is still incredibly rare. To put it simply, if the focus for that seiyuu artist or 2D music project isn't on having international fans, fan clubs or even social media that sometimes gathers both domestic and international fans in their following will continue to target Japan and not international fan bases. Why don't seiyuu artists or their music labels post content in English? This is a side note, but one important thing that I bring to the conversation based on my experience interacting with seiyuu managers, PR, and marketing staff from Japanese music labels. I won't be naming the managers, talent agencies, or music labels in question, as I'm not allowed to do so. Most, if not all, the staff at the Japanese music label or seiyuu talent agency do not speak English. Those who speak it are few, and even so, most don't have a high fluency level at it. And believe it or not, after noticing that their native staff may not be skilled in English, music labels and talent agencies are still not welcoming of foreigners wanting to join the artist management or social media departments to better support their artists or talents. That's because Japanese companies in general still only trust their own. And when their own Japanese employees have a low or non-existent English language skill, even if a certain seiyuu artist or 2D music project has a big international following, you simply won't get any content in English. That's of course unless something changes in the panorama in Japan and it starts to be more acceptable for foreigners with experience in management and with a high level of mastery of the Japanese language join the industry. Or alternatively, for music labels and talent agencies to outsource social media management in English to companies that have bilingual English and Japanese speakers. Additionally, as far as seiyuu artists' social media goes, most of the times the profile is managed by their official managers instead of a professional social media manager, basically to save costs. You can assess that on top of all the bureaucracy that managers have to deal with, plus supporting their talent 24/7, that they don't have time to care about posting in English, even if they have a certain comfort writing in that language. So there's another reason why seiyuu fan clubs or social media may not have a focus for English-speaking fans. There's no staff comfortable enough with the English language to actually create content catering international fans. I surely hope that this will change in the future. Once again, from the talks I keep having with some seiyuu managers and music label PRs and marketing staff that actually are among the few fluent in English working in Japan, they have a sense that this can change, albeit very slowly due to how focused are seiyuu and music labels on the domestic market. What do you get from being part of an official fan club? Well, let's analyze it this way. What you believe you get versus what you really get. That's the most accurate way to look at fan club subscriptions. What you believe you get, and you may actually get some of these things, are basically sense of belonging, of officially being part of a fandom, bragging rights, free, cool, and unique stuff that non-members can't have access to. What you really get: you're ripped off of your money, no value for the membership, there are exceptions, misleading sense of belonging, and having to pay for that exclusive merchandise you thought was free, or heavily discounted to you because you're a member. There are fan clubs that actually provide value for money. Well, it depends how much you value your money. For all intents and purposes, let's assume you do value your money. Whereas there are fan clubs in which it is obvious they are just running a cash grab scheme and you're playing into their hands due to fear of missing out or of being called a fake fan by other fans of the franchise. The latter is a ridiculous thing to say because the money you spend on an artist or 2D group doesn't mean you're more of a fan than other people. It just means you're rich. Well, either that or you are burning through your savings. You're not a true fan because you spend money on an artist's merch or join their fan club. You're just a fan like everyone else. When I see people saying that someone is not a real fan, it really irks me that those are actually fans of the same things as I am. Either way, that's a completely different talk. Back to the topic at hand. There are fan clubs that are obvious about not caring about their members. Let's imagine, and this is based on the several fan club plans that Seiyu and 2D projects have, that you are thinking of joining a fan club. Join X fan club for 3,000 yen. You get access to unique merchandise and exclusive videos from time to time, perhaps a member's card, wallpaper, ringtone, or something like that to prove you're a part of us. People get excited and join. Oh, forgot to tell you, you get access to unique merchandise at full price that if you want to, you'll have to pay for. But fear not, the merchandise is exclusive. No discounts there, despite what they are telling you. Once again, that's a marketing strategy to make you feel like you're getting a bargain. Worth mentioning that there are exceptions, however, most fan clubs operate in this format and following this exact same strategy. How many fans do Seiyu have? Music labels do not unveil fanbase numbers of the Seiyu artists, and if Seiyu themselves run a fanbase outside of the music label or talent agency, they also do not share those numbers. Well, firstly because they would be indirectly sharing with everyone how much money they earn off fan club activities. So how can you assess how many fans your favorite Seiyu has? There is no 100% accurate way to assess that. You can have a rough estimate through the audiences attending one live show in a tour, especially the last stop of a tour, a one-off live show or an exclusive fan club live show. The latter is the closest you have to an accurate depiction of how many fans your favorite Seiyu has, and once again, you'll still be far off the real numbers because those aren't shared with the public. But let's do this exercise for the Seiyu I previously mentioned that have fan clubs. For purposes of this exercise, I will choose the biggest venue that Seiyu artist has performed at and give you the number of people that can fill it. Then we're going to check if available a venue in which that Seiyu artist has held an exclusive fan event and do the same thing. Out of both, the one with the highest number of seats will be the rough estimate. Why is this a rough estimate and not something close to reality? Because when music labels decide which venues a Seiyu artist will have booked for their tour, they use the data that they have about how many fans that Seiyu tentatively has based on official fan club numbers, if they have one, sales numbers for their latest CD and social media reach, although this one doesn't have much weight in the decision. Once again, this is an exercise just for you to have a rough estimate of how many fans your favorite Seiyu has, and as such, this exercise can be done to any other Seiyu artist that I haven't mentioned. Please remember that there are fans of Seiyu that are not part of official fan clubs, so this will be an inaccurate representation of fan bases for each of these Seiyu I'll be talking about. Once again, this is not official data, this is just to give you a rough idea. Mamoru Miyano. It's pretty easy to guess that with a long career as a solo artist at a fan club with 10 years of existence, Mamoru Miyano has an established and big fan base. The biggest venue Miyano has held a live show at was Saitama Super Arena for Mamoru Miyano Arena Live Tour 2018 Exciting. That venue has 37,000 seats. At the same time, Miyano held an exclusive fan live show in 2017 titled Laugh and Peace presents Mamoru Miyano Anniversary Live Request 2, and it was held at Yokohama Arena. That venue has capacity for 17,000 people. You can safely say that his solo artist fan club has at least 17,000 official fans. Yet it seems that his fans can amount to around 37,000. Shota Aoi. Shota Aoi also has a long solo career, and his popularity due to the 2D music projects he is part of is noticeable. The biggest venue Aoi has performed at was Budokan for Aoi Shota Live 2016 Wonderlab Bokutachi no Sign. The Nippon Budokan has capacity for 14,471 people. So you can roughly say that Aoi as a solo artist has at least 14,471 fans in Japan. Kensho Ono. Although Kensho Ono is no longer active as a solo artist, at least is in a long hiatus since 2018, he's held 3 live shows. Kensho Ono Live Tour 2016 Rainbow Road was held at Stellar Ball in Tokyo, live venue with 1,884 seats. At least as a solo artist, Kensho Ono has 1,884 fans. Daiki Yamashita. At the time this episode was written, Daiki Yamashita has only made his solo debut a couple of months ago, so there is no live show to assess how many fans he roughly has in Japan. However, you have the special birthday event he held in September 2021. It was held at Toyosu Pit, a venue with capacity for 3,000 people. Given how, due to COVID-19 restrictions, event capacity is reduced to half, the event counted with 1,500 people in attendance. That is roughly how many fans Yamashita has as a solo artist. Soma Saito. Soma Saito has exponentially grown his fanbase as a solo artist after his first live show at Maihama Amphitheater that only has 2,200 seats. In 2021, his first live tour, We Are in Bloom, wrapped up at Tokyo Garden Theater for 2 back-to-back shows. Tokyo Garden Theater has capacity for 8,000 people across its 5 floors. However, due to COVID-19, the venue worked at half capacity, so that's around 4,000 seats. There was also the simultaneous live stream with more fans joining in, however those numbers weren't made public, but you can expect those numbers to bump up quite a bit, not counting international fans. So you can roughly say that Saito as a solo artist has around 4,000 fans in Japan. Yuma Uchida. Yuma Uchida has also seen a growth in popularity from his first live show, Over the Horizon, held in 2020 at Pacifico Yokohama National Grand Hall, which has 5,000 seats, to Makuhari Mese's 9,000 seats for his Equal Sign live show held in 2021. Well, it's actually 4,500 seats because the venue worked at half capacity due to COVID-19 restrictions. You can roughly say that Yuma Uchida as a solo artist will have at around 4,500 fans in Japan. Once again, all these numbers are rough estimates, and we're all here assuming all people attending those live shows are part of the fan clubs or even fans of each of those seiyuu when they could just be curious about it or are avid fans of music and like to attend live shows of any kind. Still, with the people attending those live shows, you can have a rough estimate of how many fans seiyuu artists have in Japan, regardless if registered in a fan club or not. was a brief look at the culture of fan clubs for Seiyu and 2D music projects. In no way I am telling you not to join fan clubs, that's not the purpose of this episode. But I felt compelled to tell you a bit how things work behind the scenes, the psychology behind it, the marketing tricks that will make you want to join one, the value you actually get versus what you think you get. I hope that this episode also serves as a reassurance for those of you that may have fear of missing out. Some of the youngest fans of Seiyu or 2D music projects may feel a bit of pressure to join fan clubs as they see their friends, virtual or physical, joining those and saying how awesome it is and how they feel like a family and whatnot. Trends also help influencing that mindset, and it can be destructive not only for their bank accounts, but also their self-esteem. If you ever felt like you're missing out from not joining a fan club, or that you are not a real fan because you haven't joined the fan club, don't be, and please don't think that about you. Fan clubs are just another way to support Seiyu or 2D music projects. There are various ways to do so, and some don't require you to spend money. If you stream music, you're still as much as a fan as those who join fan clubs. There are no real or fake fans. There are fans. You simply are a fan or not. There are no in-betweens. That way, to categorize fans is a result of insecurity by those that spend ridiculous amounts of money and want to feel superior. Nothing more. So don't ever feel like you're less of a fan because you don't have money to purchase music or join a fan club. You're as much as a fan as everyone else because you love that Seiyu or 2D music project. You are a fan, and your financial situation does not add more or less importance to you. And as long as that love you have for a Seiyu or 2D music project is with you, you're a fan. And that's all you need to care about. Now tell me, what do you think about Seiyu or 2D music projects locking content behind fan clubs? Should these stop being a thing, or do you believe fans actually benefit from these? Let me know in the comments, and if you enjoyed this episode and you don't want to miss the Hand That Feeds HQ's weekly male Seiyu and music related content, hit the subscribe button. I'll return next week with another episode of Seiyu Lounge. Thank you for listening, and see you guys around.